Uh, I'm choking over here, people. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? All right, all right. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where we at, people? Doing a little mic check here, trying to make sure everything is copacetic. Gwendolyn, I'm coming through. Any buzz? Any zzz? Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up, girl. Where you at? Where you at? All right. Somebody better let me know they can hear me out there. Okay, I get 1 thumbs up. Damn. What's up, Paulette? I was just thinking about you earlier. So what's up, peoples? How y'all doing? I hope everybody's week was good. As for the kid, everything's copacetic. Got a little bit of a cut. I trimmed the beard up, tried to look a little bit more presentable for the summertime. All right, folks. Just wanted to make sure. Want to thank everybody for coming back this week. Sounding good so far. That's what I need. Damn. People that can follow instructions, ain't it beautiful? It's beautiful. Okay, I got a couple. It might be a delayed reaction. That could be it, Messing around with you people, y'all probably got me on the NSA watch list, so I know what that's happening. I know what that means. Folks, how y'all doing? How you be? 543-211-2345. My mic check. How am I coming through? Everybody, nobody's getting a buzz. No audio problems. Last week I had some audio problems and it kind of threw me off my game. Threw off my rhythm. I had some things I wanted to go through and my whole thought process got messed up. But this week we're going to make sure that everything's copacetic before we get blowing. I got a serious thing to talk about. And some of y'all, if you talk to me at any length, at any time, you probably heard me talk about this. But before I do that, let me go ahead and I got to get hype. How about if I just get hype? How about if I just get hype? How about if I just get a little hype? Okay. Who feel like dancing? Can y'all dance? Oh, Glenda, I know you can't dance. I ain't gonna mess with her. She's born. Okay, I'm born on her birthday, but she just warmed it up till I came along. And once the brother came along, it was all good. You know what I mean? All you got to do now, express yourself. So I'm gonna just turn it down a little bit, baby. Holla at y'all. I appreciate you folks being here early, being on time, and all of that. Last week I had some audio problems, and it kind of upset me. So what I had to do is I had to go and remix it and load it onto. Once it's on Facebook, you can't change it. So I had to remix it, put it on YouTube, and then bring it back. As we move forward, I'm going to be doing some things. I'm going to move it to another forum. So I have to make sure that everybody is technologically savvy enough to be able to follow my move. So when I move, you move. Jumping like kangaroos. So let the Hank do what he want to do. Spaghetti-doo-dee-bop. Spaghetti-doo-dee-bop. Skadaka-giddy-giddy-bop. I little dig it up. Everything's cool. Yeah, of course I'm cool. I'm so cool. I'm cooler than Santa Claus, baby. Oh! Jerome, hand me my mirror. Shout out to Mars Day. Do it to. Special self. Let me cut it. Let me just cut it. Let me cut it. Folks, what's happening? It's been kind of a sublime week. It started off real crazy with so much going on in our neighborhoods, and we're trying to. Some people just ready to get past Corona at any cost. Don't. I know. But tonight I want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to the show. Some may say that I overthink things, and it's probably true, but it is what it is. To that effect, I look back at the majority of these unarmed black men that have been asininely killed by police. And I realize that most, if not all, are heterosexual black men. Then it dawned on me the easiest way to eliminate a race of people is to eliminate the male of the species. So the first thing I'm going to talk about tonight is the endangered black heterosexual man. Then I may talk a little bit, if I don't get carried away, I may talk a little bit about the rash of killings in our neighborhood, because, if we talk about Black Lives Matter, then, I have some ideas on some things that should be done. So, because this is something that's near and dear to my heart, I entitled tonight's podcast, Endangered Species, the Heterosexual Black Man and a Black Lives Matter Conspiracy. When I look at Black Lives Matter and a heterosexual black man, hold up. Let me just get this out of the way. I hate to give disclaimers because it sounds like people that say, I'm not racist because some of my friends are black. But let me just put this out there, my disclaimer. I'm a straight, heterosexual, woman-loving black man. But I don't give a care about anyone else's proclivities, sexual orientation, or any of that. I'm not homophobic, but I know that this podcast will piss some people off because this is not about the LGBTQ community. This is about heterosexual black men, and I want to focus on that. So let me just put that out there. I'm not excluding anyone. I'm focusing on someone because I think there's a concerted effort to eradicate and eliminate heterosexual black men in America. As I analyze and overanalyze the situation, I came up with a couple things. If you eliminate the black man, the heterosexual black man, over a period of time, you eliminate a race of people. It happened with the Incas, it happened with the Mayans, and it all but happened with the Indians, American Indians. There's always been some type of studies in America from a think tank or what have you that's been commissioned either by the government, Congress, or even the president to determine what racial demographics is going to look like in the future. One of the reasons they do this is because there's a concerted effort to keep America as white as possible. They always want to be the majority, and I understand that. I don't get it, but I understand it. It's seeing as though you took something from somebody else, and that's just your MO. But most people don't remember how controversial it was, especially those that are younger than we are. And most of y'all older than me. So, but seriously, most people don't remember how controversial it was when John F. Kennedy ran. He was Irish and Catholic. So that was a big deal. Better yet, most people don't remember when the Irish, the Italians, and the Jews were referred to by racial slurs just as damaging and hurtful as the N-word. Historically, the Electoral College was created to give representation to the illiterate whites in the South, but it also nullified the huge black population after the Revolutionary War, and we started talking about things like eventually they would be free. When the United States declared its independence, they did the Electoral College for a couple of reasons. The Southern whites were illiterate, so they didn't think if they can't read and write, how can they pick a good leader? And we might see some of that happening today. The other reason they did it is because they wanted to give representation, but they wanted to make sure that there were delegates of people that were quote unquote smart enough to make the final decisions. Remember, this is a republic. This is not a democracy. Each man gets a vote, but this is a republic. That's why it says, "And to the republic for which it stands." During Reconstruction, Woodrow Wilson gave legitimacy to the Klan to help control and contain the black population. Wilson was thought to be one of the premier scholars of his day. He taught at Princeton and some other nonsense. But prior to Wilson giving the Klan legitimacy, there were just a bunch of ragtag, hick white guys riding around in sheets and pillowcases. Though a Democrat, in the late 60s, Jimmy Carter also authorized a study to see what racial demographics would look in future decades. That study concluded with some of the things that they already knew, that over a period of time, America was getting darker and darker and darker, especially since these folks were free. It was so commonly known that even Richard Pryor made jokes about it, about Andrew Young being his Secretary of State and there not being a shortage of black folks. The reason this was significant is because we were coming into our own. In 1964, we had the Civil Rights Law passed, and these programs, affirmative action in particular, was created to help us level the playing field. Us meaning the black male. So they devised basically 3 ways of eliminating what I call a homosexual black man. Number 1 was economically. If we make it harder for him to earn a living, they kind of eliminate themselves with drugs and alcohol and all of these things, these self-destructive things that we do. Number 2 was criminalizing our behaviors. In our culture, there were certain things that we did, and we made it into a bad thing. You know, we wanted to give the appearance of the black man being this heathen, and that's how they referred to us. The third way was systematic jailing and killing. There was still some lynching and killing going on and all of that, but this was a kind of an extreme systematic method of the other 2 things that I talked about before. So let's look at these 3 methods in detail. Number 1, historically there were black and white men in the workplace. Affirmative action was created to level the playing field so that a black man would be paid wages that were comparable, not the same, comparable to his white peer or colleague. After a period of time, what we did is we, and I don't mean me, but what they, the system, the powers to be did, is they exploited affirmative action so that every new protected group, be it the black female, the white female, the gays, the this, the that, the others, they would be included. This means that the pie that was cut historically for the black male to make sure that he could be the head of his household and take care of his kid, take care of his family, that pie was smaller and smaller and smaller, which means there were more of us vying for a smaller slice of this pie, called affirmative action. If the heterosexual black man was pushed to the bottom of the list, then certain things would happen. Everything positive he would have to fight for. Everything negative he would be blamed for. And that's where we are today. Everything negative included and was up to incarceration and murder. So we started to prey on ourselves. Number 2 is criminalizing our behaviors. The black man has always been painted as a heathen, as everything from a deadbeat dad to an angry, violent menace to society. And why? Because once upon a time, the black man went out and worked, and the black woman started working and bringing home a check. As they start moving into education and becoming nurses and school teachers, they were out earning their husbands. So what we had to do, they still looked to their husbands as the head of the household. So there was one pot for everything that economically came into the household. So what we had to do is we had to demonize this man so that the woman would start feeling differently. So some of you people are old enough to remember songs in the 70s saying, you know, go away, little boy, I can do bad all by myself. This was the beginning of what I call the end of the black family. Some of the social programs that were set aside to help families, they were exploited, and basically they said, if you want to get help, the man cannot be in the picture. So it was a systematic way of tearing apart a family. The man has to go somewhere, so he finds someone who has a little bit less than he does. At some point, she becomes impregnated, and the cycle starts all over again. Where we learn this behavior from? Remember, Massa had already been raping and taking out women and what have you, and never paid for the children that he created, with the exception of Thomas Jefferson, because he took care of Sally Hemings. So I have to go there because anybody that knows me knows I have some history there as well. But when a black man gets angry, he's automatically demonized. Anger is a motivation. Anger is a motivator. Anger can be used to push you through some tough times. If you want to see a black man overcome, tell him he can't. He gets angry and he proves to you that you're wrong. I think about somebody like Michael Jordan. I'm not a Michael Jordan fan, but one of the things that I always found cool about it is he didn't make the team in high school, and it motivated him to become this extraordinary basketball player. Personally, when somebody tells me I can't, I'm gonna prove to them I can. You know, and I caught a few whippings for that as a child, because I just felt like, you know, you can't tell me I can be anything that I want to be and then restrict me trying to do some of these things, because I'm going to make mistakes. When we get angry, we have a lot of bass in our voice. So we automatically characterize as being verbally and physically abusive. Again, if a cop is called to a white couple's house, it's just a spat between them. When it's called to a person of color, a black man's house, and I know once upon a time we were just as bad, so let me give another disclaimer. I'm not excusing the behavior. The women in my family, if you put your hand on them, you definitely drew back a no. Honestly, the women in my family, they were very beautiful, but they were very deadly. In some ways, they were like praying mantis. She made it and bit her mate's head off. You not literally, but you could figuratively get your head bit off by messing with the women in my family. But they respected the men that they were involved with. When black men get angry, it's personal. It's he did something to me, I felt my person was invaded, I'm going to defend myself. When a white man gets angry, it escalates, and the next thing you know, we're involved in another war. And it's usually about empire building. We need some raw resources from another country. We want your oil, we want your diamonds, we want your water, we want whatever you got that we can take, we want it. You understand? And this is the reason for a lot of the wars. The other thing is, when we look at the ratio of black serial killers and murderers to black men, let me back up because I'm getting angry. Motivator? Absolutely. When we look at the ratio of white serial killers to black, anytime a black man does something, he's demonized, he's called a thug, he's called a heathen, he's called this, he's called that, a menace to society. When a white man does something, if he kills 2 or 3 people, then there's got to be some type of mental issue or reason for his behavior. It's called EVIL. If you're evil, you're just evil. If you're a sociopath, you're a sociopath. If you're a psychopath, you're a psychopath. Don't excuse their behavior and tell me that I'm bad because I raised my voice or because my face becomes contorted. The last thing, when you demonize a black man, the next thing you want to do is you want to get him involved in a so-called criminal justice system, which really needs to be renamed. Because it's assumed that if you're in the system, A, there's no justice, and B, you're a criminal. So let's just kind of talk about number 3, the jailing and the killing. I saved this for last because once you go into the criminal justice system, black men are depressed socioeconomically. They're branded socioeconomically where they cannot earn according to anyone else. When a white man comes out of jail, he's paid his debt to society and he can start all over. He can reinvent himself. A black man does not have that luxury. Technologically, now that we're doing background checks, once you have something attached to your name, it limits where you can go. It may even limit you being able to go to school if it's deemed quote unquote a felony, unless you can get it excused or pardoned by a governor or your name is Michael Flynn and Trump decides to write off your transgressions, your legal transgressions. We do not have those kind of connections to those resources. So once we're branded cyberly, that's it for us, which basically means no matter how bright you are, no matter how intelligent you are, you're going to be deemed a heathen, a thug, ex-convict. So that becomes your name. If you can avoid jail time and pay fines, Employers do a background check. Now they have a reason not to hire you. This is the heterosexual black man. Now, where does he turn? To the streets. Where does he turn? Comes out of, starts try to start his own business, So, okay. It limits what he can do. He can't get certain county jobs. He can't get certain government jobs. He can't go to school. He can't do certain things. He's very limited. The woman that he was involved with now has moved on. They're no longer on the same level. Some may stick with him, but by and large, most will not. Those that go to jail, they're even worse. They're worse off. If you go to jail and you're heterosexual, your manhood is invaded. It's compromised. And in a lot of instances, it's taken. There are some people that are gay from birth. There are other people that they use the term turning out. This person doesn't have a choice in the matter. And once you're incarcerated, you're pretty much doomed to that. And I used to use that as a way of keeping young boys out of it. When I would talk to young kids, I would say, I don't care how ugly you are, you can get a girl. Because some girl is going to think you're fine, you're cute, you're this, you're that. But if you go to jail, you're going to beat a girl. This is no longer deterrent, and I can't understand that mentality. Just being locked up in the house during a pandemic is overwhelming to me. So I can understand if they're locked up, how it's so easy to have their spirit broken. If they come out of jail, they're emotionally and they're sexually will never be the same. They may be straight, but they're compromised. Now they're confused. I talk to men all the time, and one of the things they try to tell me or sell me on is I had to do that when I was in jail, but because you had sex with a man doesn't make you gay. I'm not even going to get into that. Me, I say if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it eventually is a duck. So I'm not going to get into that, but I understand and I excuse it because they're thrust in a situation that they had no control over. Killing. You can kill a spirit when a black man becomes incarcerated. Or, what we're talking about with this Black Lives Matter, the impetus, the catalyst has been so many heterosexual black men that have been killed by the police. When a straight black man encounters the police, it's their masculine demeanor that's most threatening. To a racist cop, it's this persona of physicality, the unapologetic way that we carry ourselves that they feel they're challenged by. But to a racist cop, this is something that has to be eradicated. So they're going to find a reason to kill this person, this man. It's the same ingenuity, that persona, that style. Young kids call it swagger. I said the only people that swagger was a cowboy that's been sitting in the saddle for 3 or 4 days. But it's that style, it's that way, it's that when we walk in the room, we have an ability to kind of command the room. You understand? And that's intimidating. But it's also attractive. It's attractive to women because women say, wow, that brother got it going on. Wow, when he walks in the room, blase, all her heads turn, and I couldn't help but to look at him. And then he speaks with confidence. These are the things that appeal to all women. Black, white, red, yellow, Puerto Rican, Haitian, or blue for that matter. And that's what has to be eradicated. That's the least common denominator when we start to talk about a police encounter with a heterosexual black man that ends in murder. When we look at the ingenuity of a Benjamin Banneker or so many different people, what we find is with nothing we can make something spectacular. That's why a cop wants to pump bullets into this man's body. This is why he wants to choke the life out of him, because this is the thing that he hates about him, the thing that is lacking in himself. And there's some black cops that hate self that feel the very same way, so I'm not excusing them either. When we thought about blacks joining the police force, we thought that if they were policing, policing their neighborhoods like professionals, there would be more like Sidney Poitier and the original. I'm not talking about that Carol O'Connor. I'm talking about the original In the Heat of the Night. They call me Mr. Tibbs because he was an unflinching, unapologetic, you call it an alpha male, but he was everything that personifies a strong black man. And we thought once blacks got on the police force, we would see more of this. And as a result, we would get treated fairly. But what we found over a period of time is the system was stronger than these men and ultimately these women. And they started to behave like their white counterparts. Because they were put in situations where they say, if you don't do this, then you're going to be the next one who winds up dead. The only time that this does not apply is when we start to talk about an athlete or performer. If it's Prince, then, everybody screams his name. If it's Michael Jackson, they love him for a while, then they tear him down. If it's Michael Jordan, everybody wants to be like Mike. If you're running the ball and scoring touchdowns at the University of Alabama, you're fine and dandy. We'll even let you mess with some white girls. It's okay. Because you've been kind of indoctrinated. We can make money off you. You're no different than the stud, be it a bull or that prize pony, that stallion. So they look at them differently. But we have to keep those numbers down. We can't have too many of them because now I'm gonna leave that alone. But once we get into jobs like CEO and politician and mayor and police chief and what have you, then we're pushed, we're contained again. And I can't get this out of my mind, so I'm just leave it alone. But there's a difference when you're in a position where you make the decisions, when you can no longer, and I used to tell this, I dated this woman in Atlanta, and I'm just tell you this quick story. I dated this woman in Atlanta, very attractive. I'm dating the mother, and Michael Vick is dating the daughter. And the daughter was drop dead gorgeous, but the mother was even more attractive. But I took the mother home. She spent the night with me. I took her home the next day, and Michael Vick and the rapper Nas are in a lady's front room about to fight over this woman's daughter. And I stepped in, and when I stepped in and took control of the situation, The first thing they said, well, all right, OG. OG, no, 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 no. I'm not an original gangster. I'm an OBM. I'm an original black man. You understand what I'm saying? But you have to respect yourself and respect this woman. You can't own this. And when I talked to Michael Vick, I said, you've got a game tomorrow, and you're talking about possibly hurting your hands, breaking your hands, or whatever, whatever. Oh no, well, Art who? Art the blank, we cool. I said, no, 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 no. You belong to him. You may be rich, but he's wealthy. And this is what a lot of black athletes don't understand. When you have 10 millions today and tomorrow you're selling cars, you're not on the same level as an Art the blank. And it's ironic that I had this conversation with Michael Vick and it came to pass, everything that I told him. So I won't go into that, but we have to understand that even when they allow us to do certain things, we're still being contained. An armed white man is okay, because in the racist white cop's mind, he's fighting for the very same thing that we are fear of. Fear of a black planet. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to just move on, because there's two things that's kind of bothering me. Number one is we have to understand that we have a responsibility as black men, regardless to who we are, regardless of our economic status, our social status, or what have you. We are here to lead. We have a certain amount of vision. We have a certain amount of leadership abilities. We have a certain amount of ingenuity. We have the ability to command and be the best at what it is, those God-given talents that's bestowed upon us. The problem with that is when we use those things to become the best drug dealer, the best killer in the neighborhood. So our children, our women, can no longer walk through the neighborhood. This brings me to the last thing. I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it quick and get out of here. The conspiracy part is this. When they start talking about Black Lives Matter and defunding the police, I think one thing happened. A lot of police started to develop a blue flu. The other thing is some of them start saying, okay, we know the crime areas, we're just not going to go into those areas. So what we're going to do is allow those people to wreak havoc. And what it's resulted in is over 65, almost 70 people being shot over the holiday weekend in Chicago. What it amounted to is, I don't know how many people being shot and are killed in New Orleans, and even in Houston with Ricky Smiley's daughter. And it's no different because my son was shot. Damn it, I was shot in my own city. I've traveled around the world as a Marine and went to New Orleans and was shot in my back, and then bullet came out the side of my neck. So when we allow these things to happen, if you're going to do something with this, then have some morals about yourself. Make certain things off limit. If I got a beef with you, it's you that I'm looking for. I'm not going to take this beef to the street and have it affect a 7-year-old or a 17-year-old or a 70-year-old for that matter. To me, that's being a punkish, is being punkish, is not being a man. So let me just say this. The conspiracy is I know the cops know who's doing what, but here's a way for them to prove their worth by allowing these things to happen. But I can't put all the blame on them, because if you know and I know that we have a beef, there should be certain places that's off limit. There should be certain places in our neighborhoods where my children, your children go to school, your girl and my girl's walking down the street, because a man, in my day, if I got a problem with you, I'm going to bring it to you. When I see you on the park, I'm going to say, yo, this is it. I'm not going to sneak up and say, oh, yeah, start shooting. And as you start to run, I keep on shooting. And whoever I hit, I hit. That's not being a man. Two things should happen. If you the head of a so-called gang or a street crew or whatever, and one of your boys take an innocent life, you should sacrifice his punk ass. I said it and I mean it, because that's the only way people are going to start taking responsibility. Black lives matter no matter who's taking that life. And if you're from the neighborhood, it's just as bad as the cop. The only reason I hold the police responsible for it is because they know who's doing it. They allow it to happen. Just like they know who's selling the drugs. Just like they know who the street hookers are. Just like they know who everybody is in that neighborhood. Because the streets talk louder than the newspaper. So I said what I said, I meant what I said, and I promised myself I wasn't going to get upset, but it is what it is. In closing, I just want to calm down for a minute. I don't want to thank you guys for tuning in. I think we have to know what we're fighting for. When I talk about Black Lives Matter, I talk about responsibility across the board, from the police to the judges to the criminal justice system to the knuckleheads on the streets. I love black folks, can't stand niggas. So if you're acting like that, what color you are, you need to check yourself. With that, I'm going to wish everybody, I'm going to thank you for tuning in tonight. I apologize for my attitude. I apologize for saying what I said the way I said it, but I meant it, and it came out the way it came out. It comes from a place of love, and I'm passionate about what I say. I want our streets to be safe to walk down. That means not fear of a black man, a white man, a cop, a woman, or otherwise. So thank you guys for your continued support. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing me love. Most of all, thank you for letting me be me. I am but a man. As always, go to my YouTube channel, check out some of my videos. If you came in late, give me a minute. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube. In the meantime, I'll see you here next week. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place, and hopefully I can get a hold of my emotions. Love, peace. I'm out of here, folks. Love you all.